Okay, here's the Poison Adrena 167 BFS. There's Shimano's ubiquitous monocoque handle. Very pretty glittering finish on the split section in the sunlight. Moving up towards the handle, everything your hand touches on this rod is wrapped in a soft, rubberized coating, which provides a good grip even when wet or wearing gloves. Shimano's reel seat ergonomics, the contours, the trigger size and shape is always on point. Moving up the blank, you can see that shiny, swirling pattern in the graphite, which reminds me of that TC4 material Shimano used in the Travala and other saltwater jigging rod lines. The reel I have paired to this rod is the Daiwa Alpha's CT-SV70, which is the last of the Japan-made Alphas built on the previous platform. There is a new Alpha's SVTW which I'll be testing in the next season, and my first impressions of the new Alphas is very positive. This BFS rod is relatively short at 6'7", and it weighs all of 3.2 ounces, which makes it a very fun little package. And by the way, BFS stands for Bait Finesse System, and it basically covers true ultralight panfish and trout applications all the way to power BFS and bass fishing, which I would categorize this Adrena as. Baitcasters that can replace medium light spinning gear in some but not all situations. So here's jerkbaiting in its natural environment, in a lake for smallmouth bass, not on a beach for fluke, but the idea is the same. I am calling fish up from deep, clear water to blast my jerkbait on the paws. Now, through these clips, just pay attention to my rod angles and my movements on the kayak. Everything is done for a reason, and I'll explain more later on. Now here I'm throwing a crankbait, and for those of you unfamiliar with cranking, I know most of you are saltwater fishermen. Unlike jerkbaits, I'm not working them through the middle column. You actually want to make some kind of bottom contact with the bill of the crankbait. Trigger bites with brief pauses and speed changes, especially after you hit something and it deflects off its path. Boat positioning is very important, and having a selection of crankbaits so you can target different depth zones is also key. Now, there are different crankbaits, hundreds, thousands of different crankbaits. Some are designed for rock, some are designed for wood, and there are some even for ripping through grass. But in any case, the structure I'm fishing is mostly clay bank, chunk rock, a little bit of stump, and wood structure. And when you see me reeling, I'm pretty much on the bottom through 80% of the cast. And you see me pause and speed up, that's just the trigger bites after I actually contact something. Now, this is one of the fattest smallies I've ever caught. I mean, this thing is just a balloon. The Adrena BFS is rated from 1/8 to 7/16 of an ounce, and it will throw that range of weight perfectly fine, though I say its sweet spot is right in the middle at about 1/4 to 3/8 ounce. Now, some people wouldn't consider this true BFS. I know certain rods and reels can throw down to 1/32 of an ounce and even lighter, but I don't fish for trout or panfish. And where power BFS fishing really shines is using 7 to 8 pounds straight fluorocarbon, which behaves terribly on spinning gear, and throwing finesse moving baits such as crankbaits, jerkbaits, mini spinner, and chatterbaits. And though I'm usually fluking during topwater season, I know this rod will be an absolute blast throwing tiny poppers and walking baits as well. The bait I'm throwing here is the Megabass Eye by Eye Shad Type 3, and I've also used Evoke Shad, also a couple of Duo Shad type crankbaits. I'm a big fan of weight transfer systems and sort of a tight wiggling action. And this fish has very odd coloration, almost looks like a rock bass. Okay, so coming up is the biggest largemouth I caught all year, and it came on a tiny crankbait. I'll let this clip play out unedited and make a couple of observations on how to fight big fish on light gear from a kayak. First thing you do is get off the bank immediately. And I should note that your kayak steering should be in the opposite hand as the hand you use to hold your rod. I was working that 7 to 9 foot zone and taking the crankbait through stumps and boulders. So you want to get as far away from that shit as quickly as possible to deeper water. Then you're mostly concerned with drag pressure and rod angles for the rest of the fight. If you stay shallow and a big fish wraps you up in a tree, it's game over. See here, I'm straight up and down in deeper water. Lots of sea room, very comfortable. I'm using 7 pound sniper, which has very little abrasion resistance, but on a straight pull, you can pull a lot harder than you think. So this fish was almost 6 pounds on the boga. Very nice fish, fat, healthy. That's what you want to see. And here's me not reacting quickly enough, and a big fish, felt heavier than the one I just caught, found its way into timber. Oh, fuck me. Okay, moving on. Between the crankbait and jerkbait, if I had to choose, I say the Adrena BFS is slightly more suited for finesse cranking than it is for jerkbaits. It has the right tip for doing both, but it's a bit lacking in the midsection for driving home the single hooks I use on almost all my hard baits. Even though these are very small, treble hooks are much thinner in diameter. Basically, the difference is a crankbait is generally moving towards you when a fish grabs it from behind, while a jerkbait is often sitting there suspended under slack line. So you do need a bit more of a hook set on jerkbaits versus crankbaits. Now, I did lose a couple of fish on this rod jerkbaiting, but it also landed me some precariously hooked fish as well.
Oh, why?
Okay, final note on landing bass from a kayak, especially smallmouth, is knowing how to deal with jumping fish. They will always telegraph a jump through your line angle, and when that happens, you want to flatten your rod to the water and lead the fish through the jump, pulling in a smooth arc with your rod parallel to the water surface. This keeps the jump low, and more importantly, it keeps your line tight during and immediately after the fish lands. This fish is going to dive deep, and when it feels that much pressure it can't overcome, it's going to come up to jump right here. You see it starting. Okay, and if you notice, I was pulling my rod low to the water and across. So you have to give yourself enough room to pull the fish through its jump. And once again here, I'm going to pedal because the fish is on my weak side. This is not the side I land fish on, but I'm not going to try to maneuver the fish over to my left side until an opportunity presents itself. And I believe the fish is going to come up to jump again. I don't know if it actually does, but when it starts to flatten out and come to the surface, that's when I use. So if the fish jumps here, then you see my motion. I'm smoothly pulling it over. I have plenty of room to go from one side to the next. The point is you want to predict what the fish is going to do and then react to it appropriately. Knowing that correct mechanics and how to apply them goes a long way to raising your landing percentage, which is something I obsess and spend a lot of time thinking about, regardless of what species I'm fishing for. Here's another fish that requires some solid mechanics and a bit of luck to land. You'll see that it's barely hooked when it comes up the first time.
Oh, come on. No, no, no. No, 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 no.
So that's another fish on the finesse crank. And by the way, I'll link all the baits I use in this video, along with the line, clips, etc., everything in the description below. Now, as much fun as this combo proved to be, BFS will never replace mid to deep water spinning gear techniques for me. such as drop shotting, tight lining, Demiki rigging, etc. Mainly because it's far less efficient than spinning gear for getting light lures deep. And even the most expensive bait casting reels, your Steezes, your Aldebarans, your Conquests, they simply lack the smooth drag needed to land big bass on 4 to 6 pound fluorocarbon. There's just no getting around that. Spinning reels, especially upper echelon reels from the Certate on for Daiwa, maybe Twin Power on for Shimano, they just have larger drag surfaces and a drag that's independent of the winding mechanism. So they'll always be smoother. But for finesse crankbaits, jerkbaits, horizontal moving baits on 7 or 8 pounds straight fluorocarbon, I will never go back to spinning rods for that. This is way too much fun. And the Poison Adrena 167 BFS ticks all those boxes. It is absolutely perfect for what I'm using it for. In any case, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.